what's going on. This is happening right now. Karen Bracken is on top of this. She has a national coalition on this. What's happening right now is we've got 5 counties in Georgia. Your legislators had no idea until we told them. 5 counties in Georgia, 5 counties in Alabama, and the rest in Tennessee. It's 16 total in this corner here. It is no coincidence that they hit 3 states in a corner. And they did a circle around here, and what they're going to do is they're coming in here, and they're going to dissolve within that subset of regionalism your city councilmen, your mayors, and your elected officials. And the decision making is going back to a board that is appointed. Now, how many people have gone to a water board or an architectural board, and where'd you get? Nowhere. When you have appointed boards and people that are not elected, you got trouble.
Yep.
Okay, so our legislators didn't even know that these 5 counties were lumped in this region in over 3 states. Yes, sir.
Who's they? You said they're going to come in and do this.
They've already done it.
The federal government, or?
Yeah, well, I guess the elitist federal government, yes. They've already done it. It's already there, and I can get you information if you email me. And what they're going to do is this. Once they break down those 5 states in Georgia, counties, and the other counties, and they dissolve their mayors because they're going to say, we've developed a region. Now, if you don't know, Chattanooga, Tennessee is the ICLEI dream of the world and the UN of the world of Agenda 21. It's all in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it's all how they've been doing their planning and everything. It's like the typical whatever. So it's not surprising it started in Tennessee. So once they dismiss those elected officials, what's going to happen? This is going to happen.
Bigger.
Yeah.
Bigger and bigger.
Then you have one region. You don't have states. You don't have state sovereignty. Oh, remember, I think that mentioned back there.
Amendment of states' rights.
Yeah, so here's what's very interesting. I found this quote. This is another website, is a must. Green, green-agenda.com. Have you ever heard of Club of Rome?
Yes.
Club of Rome is like your Bilderbergs and your Illuminati. They all have different names. There's another one, Bohemian Grove. They're all the elitist, okay? I found this quote, and it's 16 pages of quotes, and this blew me away. Regionalism must precede, that means come before, globalism. We foresee a seamless system of governance from local communities, individual states, regional unions, and up through to the United Nations itself. It was done by the UN Commission on Global Governance. Straight from the Soviet Union, people. When you have appointed boards, you lose all your decision making. Okay, public-private partnerships. I've touched that. That is a government service or private venture which is funded through a partnership. It's usually lobbyists in your governments with one or more private sectors. It can be an NGO, non-government organization. It is government-controlled monopolies. They aren't doing business based on capitalism and free market. Their purpose is to protect the power that feel that they might be weakened. In other words, look at what Obama's doing with the solar. It's dying, and he's pumping all this money in because it's his buddies. Those big wind farms, don't know if you know, but they're killing thousands and thousands of birds. The sound is the vibration of the sound, you can't even live near. It's killing the property rights and the values. And by the way, the power that they put out is like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's disgusting.
They're nice sort of.
Oh, they're beyond. And they're all they're just, everything's bad about them. Okay, we also have these government, private property, controlled monopolies, public-private partnerships. They're showing up in our school system. The individuals and the businesses are getting involved in the educational unit, and these businesses and government are starting to control the education agenda. In other words, we need workers, and by the way, the term workers is communism. We never had our talking heads saying workers before Obama came to office. We were called employees and employers. Do not use the term workers. It's a communistic term. When they need certain fields, then the government is forcing through the government schools the agenda of what the children should learn. That's really scary.
That's true, and it's been for quite a while.
Do you know up in Vermont, and Tom DeWeese is supposed to give me the picture. He forgot to make me a copy. He's got it. It's beautiful. It was in the paper. that in a university, it's a small university and very expensive small university up in New England, they have discovered sustainable farming. The new sustainable farming. Do you know what kind of machine it is? It's not a machine, it's 2 oxen. You think I'm kidding?
No.
Okay, so the parents are paying fortunes for an education, and they're doing what, Daniel Boone technology? Give me a break. Really. By the way, on the things about farming and government coming in and executive rural council on the farms, I was telling this in the Cuban American Club the first time I did it, and a man called me because somebody in the audience, he couldn't make it. And he told him about what I said, and he called me up, and he's got a farm. It's under 10 acres in North Florida, Yulee, Hilliard area. And apparently if you're under 10 acres, he has 6 acres, you're grandfathered in, and you don't pay, like, I guess, farm taxes or something. But the green police, he calls it, harass them constantly. They were actually out the weekend before I spoke, so this had to be the weekend before August 19th, so it would have been August 13th when I met with Dr. Kaufman, and said that they told him that they had to put diapers on his cows because the manure was hitting the water table.
Yes.
And I said, manure has been hitting the ground before Jesus Christ's feet hit the ground. I want to know who's making cow diapers. And if it's Al Gore, I'm coming with my AR. Seriously.
Yeah.
The guy's having a nervous breakdown because he's got to put diapers on his cow. So I go into gun shows and I rent booths because men and women that are buying guns get what I'm telling them. And I was telling this story, and they said, that's what happened kind of to the farm in Green Cove Springs. I'm like, what? It's called Gustafson Dairy, and they were 50-year-old dairy. They'd been there, and like 3 or 4 years ago, the EPA Green Police came in and said the cow's manure was contaminating the water table in neighboring water systems. Well, when I was farming, it was fertilizer before chemicals.
Yeah.
And it sure as heck not contaminating any water table because poop's been around as long as water.
Yep.
So, you know, people, and they decided not to fight it. They shut down the dairy, which was the end result. That's what they wanted to do. Yeah, so let's do that. Okay, shocking quotes. I've already run the run about regionalism. This will blow you away. Doesn't matter what is true. It only matters what people believe is true. And let me tell you who said it. Paul Watson, co-founder of Greenpeace.
Yeah.
Greenpeace is pretty evil.
Yes, they are.
We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the major right crisis. That's said by David Rockefeller, Club of Rome. If you don't know who the most 4 evilest men in the world, may God, from my ears to your powers, send them straight to hell. David Rockefeller, George Soros, Maurice Strong, and Kissinger. Bill Gates is right here underneath him. He's evil. Shocking quotes. Here we go. Coal makes us sick. Oil makes us sick. It's global warming. It's ruining our country. It's ruining our world. Harry Reid. Any coincidence he's where he is?
So is gambling.
Exactly. The big threat to the planet is people. There are too many doing too well economically and burning too much oil. Sir James Lubbock of BBC. Here's one. Current lifestyles and consumption patterns of the fluent middle class. Now that would be all of us, because guess what he's going to talk about? We're the fluent middle class because we eat meat. That's affluent actions.
Wow.
We use fossil fuels. We put gas in our cars.
Yeah.
Appliances, we use them. We use home and work AC. That terrified me that he broke it down. Home and work AC. And suburban housing are not sustainable. Maurice Strong, who's hiding out in China, Secretary General of the UN Conference of Environment and Development 1992. Individual rights will have to take a back seat to the collective. Now, I just got to tell you this, and I'm just going to throw it out there just so you need to know because it's the truth. Newt Gingrich, in his book, was printed in 1994, and I usually have it, and I accidentally left it, and I show it, and I flip open to the chapters. And there's a chapter in there called Individualism versus Collectivism. Now, he wrote this in 94, 95, 96. And you flip open, and the first sentence is, the argument of the future will be between individualism and collectivism. Written over 20 years ago.
Wow.
How did he know that? Just, you said it, I didn't. Harry Rubin, that was part of the chairman of the Wildlands Project, was also the president of Bill Clinton's President's Council of Sustainable Development. Marco Rubio appointed this man when Marco Rubio was Speaker of the House in Florida. Marco Rubio is also part of that, just so you know. And he's probably going to be picked for VP candidate, and he's pretty bad. He voted for the NDA. He stood on the floor and screamed about Obama's debt and turned around and voted for $6.9 billion, that's what the B is in Bravo, to Burma. Burma. You know where Burma is? I don't, but they got $6.9 billion. He made sure he wasn't there for the Patriot Extension Act, and he co-sponsored with the most communist Democrat, Boxer, Feinstein, all of them, Tom Udall, to shut down the internet bill. Did you know that? Yeah, so he's a real patriot Tea Party, isn't he?
Cybersecurity.
Yeah. Isn't the hope, the only hope for the planet, the industrialized civilization's collapse? Isn't it our responsibility to bring that about? That's Murray Strong again, founder of the UN Environment Program. Here's the preamble from the UN Policy on Land. This is from the UN Preamble Policy of Land. Land cannot be treated as an ordinary asset, controlled by individuals, and subject to pressures and inefficiencies of the market. Private land ownership is a principal instrument of accumulation and concentration of wealth, and therefore contributes to social injustice.
But how much does she own? That's the part I don't get. How can
Yeah.
they be such hypocrites? It just doesn't make sense.
Because nobody calls them on it.
Exactly. Now, here's another one of my anti-tinfoil hats. So if you still think I got one on, I want you to dismiss everything I said. Forget the map. Forget what you know the EPA is doing. Forget wetlands being because of bird peed on the land. Forget all that stuff. And let me just throw this scenario out for you. Can we not all agree in the room that our country is bankrupt?
Yes.
That we have the risk of losing the world's reserve currency? Do you know what that means?
Absolutely.
Okay, do you know that we were picked to be the world's reserve currency after World War II because of two reasons? We had a manufacturing base, the world's largest manufacturing base, and our money was backed by gold. Both those things no longer exist.
That's right.
China and Japan are doing deals between themselves and not converting to the dollar. Being the world's reserve currency, especially oil, when countries take their goods to the marketplace and they sell them, they have to convert to dollars. Okay? The oil producing companies aren't liking that. Okay? Just so you know, before 9/11, Hugo Chavez in Saudi Arabia declared they were going to start taking gold dinar. Wow, 9/11, we go into Iraq. What's in Iraq? Oil. Gaddafi, right before Obama went in on a weekend. Now he's Pee Wee Herman. He's 10% of the world's oil. He's Pee Wee Herman. Pee Wee Herman declared that he was only going to take gold dinar for oil. And we went into Libya. Do you know where he is now? He's dead. Okay, if Pee Wee Herman starts screaming, I'm only taking gold dinar, what do you think the big fat cat Herman, Fat Alberts are going to do? Hey, Pee Wee Herman gets gold, we get gold. That couldn't happen, could it? Just food for thought. Okay.
Well, you gotta wonder if Syria's done the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know how much oil they have. Something else is in there. We have to look at the geographic
Yeah, sure.
location. Okay. So I'm a crazy nut, and we can agree that our dollar's in trouble. If you were the elitist, which is what the Federal Reserve Bank is, you know it's not part of the government, right? We're all schooled on that, private bankers. And you have trillions of dollars, and you're not buying gold with it. You are not, I promise you. But China is buying gold with all their stuff because they're going to declare they're the world's reserve currency. And I don't think there's going to be a lot we can do about it. Unless they shoot down China and take their gold, but I don't know about it. Just history, France and when Nixon demanded their gold, did you know this? And it was so much gold they offered to send escort ships, and we gave them their gold. And then Germany, I think it was Germany, I know it was France #1, but Germany was #2, they also demanded their gold. And we gave that to them too. And you know what the next thing we did? President Nixon took us off the gold standard. Why? We were out of gold. We were out of gold.
So the gold really is missing from Fort Knox.
Oh, you can better believe nothing's there but open air like here. Okay, so You're the Federal Reserve, you have trillions of dollars, you're the government, whatever you want to call it. You need to put your money somewhere, don't you? What about a hard asset?
Land.
So you got federal government coming in with $100 million from the USDA
Yeah.
that they don't have, that they're getting and loaning from China on the backs of us, our children, and our grandchildren. And they're buying what? And at the end of the day, who owns the land? Call me crazy.
I'll add one to that too, because I personally believe, I've got no proof, I believe they're using land as collateral for the loans from China, and when we default on that loan.
Well, here's something for you. Do you know that China has 50 square sovereign miles in Idaho?
Yeah.
Do you know in August of last year, in the weekend of 18-19, somewhere around there, every governor of every state met with China, Communist China, in Salt Lake City, Utah, and none of the press could cover it, but the John Birch people sent them to the hotels and camped out. That's why we have the information. You better believe. There's also in here, this is scary, I haven't dug deep, but I've highlighted it, debt for land swap.
Yeah.
Debt for land
We're there.
swap.
We're there.
They're doing it in Greece right now.
Exactly. Google debt for land swap. It's right here, people.
How can you get a copy of the UN Agenda 21?
You press go online.
You can go online, it's there.
Yep.
Okay.
What are we going to choose? Sustainable development, which is social justice, or sustainable freedom, individual justice? Make no mistake, Obama will sign it in June. So here's what I tell people. Oh, write this down. HB 225, it's Sustainable Agriculture Bill. We need to repeal it. That's what I went to go speak to the legislator. We've got to put the heat on your legislators to repeal HB 225 and block all funding. They have done a resolution to stop it, but if we put enough heat on them, they can. They didn't know when they passed sustainable farming. Sounds good.
Yeah.
You know what that meant.
Is that federal or state of Georgia?
That's Georgia. That's your Georgia. I want to read you an email that came from a friend of mine, and this came from her friend in Australia. Now he's just rambling, so it's not really good. But anyway, it says, this is from my friend Bob in Australia. Australia, we have a sneaky version here. Years ago, they're talking about Agenda 21 back and forth to each other, they stopped cattle from grazing on all southern high plains. And they put parentheses, hoof damage from the cattle. So we got to stop them from grazing. Then we can't have her cut, he's just not writing right. Then we can't cut a tree law. More trees than one can poke a stick at. All protection huts removed from vast southern national parks. I'm not sure what a protection hut would be. Getting rid of all things not native to Australia, and this includes honeybees. Honeybees pollinate, okay? Now the stupid laws concerning water rights. If you don't know, we have huge issues with water rights in our country right now. Now stupid laws concerning water rights are rationing in irrigation areas, parentheses, break the food chain. That's why we can't irrigate. Cities full of drugged, parentheses, fluoride in the water, people who want to cuddle a feral, I didn't know what roo meant, but it just dawned on me, that's kangaroo.
Yeah.
Cuddle a feral kangaroo rather than shoot it to save the livelihood of a man on the land. I have seen 1,000-acre grazing farm with 1,000 rules. Hot barrel fun, I guess that means shooting in a barrel. And most are left to rot because the government will only issue the shooter with a small number of ear tags. Okay, that's kind of like our catch shares happening here with our fish getting bigger and bigger. 5,000 fine on a bloody crow. I don't know what that means. I'm broke, must be the death penalty on a roo. Can't kill a snake, protected. Don't shoot a fruit bat, day in court. They carry rabies and bugger all the fruits. Billions in Australia. We have been known to have a bat night. So all true Aussies are now outside the law just to live. Wild ducks are on the same on pea crops, etc. And we have a PM, Prime Minister, who makes us all cringe. Plenty of Kool-Aid, spelled C-O-O-L, in Australia. It always happens there first.
Wow.
Coming to